Hey guys, I have a mystery unboxing today. I finally received something that I wanted. I went off eBay. I put a silly price down. Normally these things go for way more than they're supposed to. I personally think it's overpriced. It's a fun toy. It's a fun system, but it's not exactly Neo Geo caliber in terms of pricing or ultra rare. I mean, this stuff was common when it was out. Just now, just the collectors charge an arm and a leg because they think something's on eBay. They get, a high price for it. They think that, everyone thinks they're a Pawn Star now or whatever those stupid shows are. So I got this for a very low price, much lower than the market's bearing, but I still think I paid a fair price. I haven't even looked at it, haven't even opened it, so I was just going to see. I have no idea what this is. It says Orlando Health. It seems to be some sort of fanny pack thing, but just so you know, I don't know why he put that in there, but this is what I got. This is a TurboGrafx 16. Anyone that doesn't know, this is the first, home console 16-bit system, although you could argue that the Intellivision was 16-bit, but this was argued as a 16-bit. This is very common in Japan, known as the PC Engine. Was much smaller. It was only like that size, and it didn't have this, horrible device on the back of it. And what this did was it was a joint venture between NEC and Hudson, and this was supposed to be the successor to the Nintendo Entertainment System. They actually brought this design. NEC and Hudson said, "Here's the new design. Has an 8-bit CPU, much more powerful than the Nintendo's 8-bit CPU." And what that would do was they attached two 16-bit processors in addition. One for color, one for moving graphics around. It's kind of like a video encoder. So that really helped out. It also used these futuristic-looking cue cards. Although if you owned a Sega Master System, they had similar ones. They would slide in here like that, and that was it. The system, when it came out, it had amazing color. It showed more color than the Genesis and even the Super Nintendo. I think it showed up to 512 on screen. The Genesis 64, although with tricks you could triple that color. Super Nintendo 256. In a lot of ways it was comparable to the Genesis and Super Nintendo. It certainly was known as the shooter system. It's multiple attachments on it. You can plug in a turbo booster on the back, which either gave it composite video output, which is infinitely better than the RF I'm going to be stuck with till I get it modded. And the other thing is it's going to have a CD drive. This unit had the first ever CD drive back in the 80s. It was very expensive, I think well over $300. And its launch titles were nothing better than basically regular turbo chip games with a CD quality sound. So I just realized this guy used a wee wee pad to pack this in. That said, the system was very fast in terms of moving graphics around on the screen. Incredibly colorful, the most colorful 16-bit system, unless you compare the Neo Geo, but that's not fair. Downsides, one controller port. I mean, it's in the Guinness Book of World Records of being the smallest system ever. I mean, you have to picture it being about this size, where my hand is blocking and above, and missing this. But that's because it was missing anything but an RF out. All it has factory is RF, and it's only got one controller port. So out of the box, you'd have to buy a TurboTap, which gave you the 5 players, and you had to deal with RF. If you wanted to upgrade it, you had to get the CD unit just to give you composite out, S-Video, and RGB has to be modded, so on and so forth. The CD unit required its own cards. I don't have any, of course. It was Legendary Axe 2, very good game. It would be essentially a memory upgrade and obviously a BIOS to run the CD system and recognize the later games. Regular CD games are nothing more than much more in depth because there's a lot more space and more color. CD-ROMs soon progressed into much more advanced graphics. Many of you have seen Dracula X. If not, search TurboGrafx or PC Engine Dracula X. It's arguably the best version until we hit the 32-bit, surpassing Super Nintendo and Genesis. That's arguable. And finally is the arcade card. Only came out in Japan. over 2 MB of memory, which is massive, especially for this generation of 1987 technology. That allowed for palatable Neo Geo ports, particularly of Art of Fighting. It's pretty damn good. Certainly the best out of any home console to date. However, still not arcade perfect. TurboGrafx 16, they wanted to make it bigger because Americans wanted to have something bigger in their hands, because that's just how we are. If you open it up, and I'm not going to do that now, but maybe in a later review, if you open it up, you'll see there's an area here on the motherboard where they're supposed to have a built-in game. It doesn't. I think it should have, but it does not. But that's a TurboGrafx 16 in a nutshell. I am going to upgrade it. I am going to get the CD unit for it later on, make it RGB, and it's an excellent, excellent home console. To save money, buy a PC Engine. I went the TurboGrafx 16 way because I always wanted one. I actually had a Turbo Express with a couple of games, but I never had a TurboGrafx 16. It's the controller. This is a very good controller, very comfortable. It has these beautiful turbo buttons on here that give you, turbo. That's essentially its whole gimmick there. Made in Taiwan. It's not the best condition, but what do you expect? This is obviously like a flea market condition. Here's the buttons here: select, run, no start. Had to be a little bit different. It plugs right into the front, and has that massive, cable there. It's very thick. I'm going to be very comfortable with this controller. It's a very well designed, because it's just essentially an NES controller, and that's that. Go over the games. Here's the RF controller. I'm not going to use that because I have the NES, but it's nice to have the factory one. It says TurboGrafx 16 on it, which is nice. Again, I'm just going to use the NES RF. NES actually has a really decent RF system. I got 14 games. If you notice, I don't have an AC adapter. I don't, but that's no matter because any Sega Genesis Model 1 power supply will handle it. No problem. Just to go over some of the games here. Bravo Man. From what I hear, this is a terrible, terrible game. But it's fun. It's very Japanese. It's worth a play through if you want it. I wouldn't pay more than $2 or $3 for it. Again, it's also annoying the way he shouts "Bravo, Bravo" every time he plays. So, moving on. Double Dungeons. This is known as probably the worst game on the system. Literally a dungeon crawler, and you just attack, move through, attack, collect, attack, move through, attack. And it's the 3D aspect is kind of neat, maybe back when it came out in 89, I believe, or 90. But even then, it wore thin, and it's just a grueling. You might as well just go out and start digging holes. It's about the same in terms of depth and quality. Moving into some better, Bonk's Adventure. This game is a must for anyone. Everybody knows this guy. This was TurboGrafx 16's mascot, but he was hoarded out. Even back then, he made it to the NES and even the Super NES. I'm not certain about the Mega Drive or Genesis. Maybe somebody can tell me. This is a very definitive platformer. It's very good. It lacks kind of the parallax scrolling of the Sonic or Mario system, especially in the 16-bit gen, but the colors and the sound are pretty damn good. Very good control. Very fun game. Bonk's Revenge. It's the sequel. It's the second one in the series, number 2, if you want to know. It's very good. It's just an upgraded version of Bonk's Adventure. Much better graphics, much more colorful, an amazing action platformer. It's, again, must-have. Taking it to the hoop. It's a basketball game. I mean, it's okay if you like sports games. Obviously, these are unlicensed games because Nintendo had a stranglehold on the industry, very much illegal, but basically threatened anyone that made games for other systems. They would be sued. Luckily, Sega had a very strong in-house gaming. They had arcade experience and eventually broke that stranglehold, but it eventually killed the TurboGrafx 16. I think it's a number one reason because you just have taken it to the hoop. There's no Jordan in here. There's no licensed anything. This is simply either made by, this is Hudson, U-Card. So, unfortunately, that's the case. Nobody would take the chance. Power Golf, again, very typical, sports game. Nothing special. I love how simple these games are. It's always nice. Alien Crush. I don't even like pinball games. This is a great pinball game. Anyone that cares about the traditional pinball games, just look into this. It's very interesting. Also look into Devil Crush, which I don't have. Just a very interesting, very good music. Gotta get your points up there. You hit a lot of aliens. Obviously, they rip off the H.R. Geiger's Alien clone for a while, but check this out. This is a great game for pinball. It's very, very addicting, and I highly recommend it. Drop Off. It seems to be some sort of a puzzle bobber game. I'm not exactly certain. I think it has something to do with kind of like Arkanoid, but much worse. It doesn't have the rotary controller. Obviously, you got to press left and right on the control pad. You got to bounce food around, and you can bounce it off the floor, but not too many times. From what I understand, this is a moderately average game. Again, don't pay for it too much, or unless you get it in a bundle like I just did. You know. Each and every one of these games got a weird sticker on it. I have to look into it anymore. Victory Run. It's basically their version of Outrun. I mean, what the good news with the TurboGrafx 16 is, although it couldn't put Outrun or Rad Racer, it simply ripped it off, and they made a good version. This is a great game. This is a fun game. It's got interesting graphics. You've seen it. The cars stand still on the floor, and everything rushes towards you. So I recommend getting it. It's like an $8 or $9 game. Not much, and it's certainly fun. Very traditional arcade racer. Highly recommend. Let's see. Here's the Pac-In game, Keith Courage. Easily one of the worst Pac-In games. Obviously, it's not a terrible game, but you have a launch system, and you pack in Keith Courage and Alpha Zones. I mean, the graphics are very 8-bit-ish, just with extra color. You move like a snail, very half-assed. I mean, it doesn't show off at all. I mean, when the Genesis was launched, you got the Sea Altered Beast, with its parallax scrolling and almost arcade comparison, and that's the late 80s, and that's what you wanted. You wanted the arcade experience in your home. The arcade was absolute king. Fast forward to the Super Nintendo, you got a game like Pilot Wings, which was basically a Mode 7 tech demo. It showed off the system entirely. You knew what you were getting. This, it really didn't do anything. It's just a very, very, very mediocre game. And it's a Pac-In game, so it should be the most common. These are essentially free. I wouldn't even pay $1 for it, because they are just, you could probably, every bundle will have 5 or 6 of them. So if you drop it on the floor, I wouldn't even bend over to pick it up. Blazing Lasers. This is an early shooter, but for the system. Again, this is from 91. Very, very good shooter. This is what the system excels at. It can move sprites around on that screen without much slowdown, move a lot of information around on that screen. This is a great game. You have to have it. It's an earlier shooter. Obviously, there's more impressive graphically, but this one's still amazing. Many different upgrades, different weapons. It's hard, but it always make you come back for more. You put your controller down, you come back later. You want to pick it up again. It's not a game where it just pisses all over you and lasts, but it's not a walk in the park either. You have to have this game. Highly recommend it. Ninja Spirit. It's just an interesting platforming game. Very colorful. I think the graphics are very cute. It's the TurboGrafx 16 had that kind of cute graphics and very colorful again. Nothing to write home about, but I'd recommend picking it up. Moving into a more legendary status, actually the Legendary Axe. This game is a must-have. 1989. It's very hard, very good graphics. I enjoy the atmosphere of it. It's very, very typical of the TurboGrafx 16 in its style and its presentation. It is a very good game. It's hard to make you come back for more. You have to have this game. And even better was Legendary Axe 2, which is a weird sequel because it doesn't even use an axe. I mean, there's some very good music in this game, very good chip tunes. You have to have this game. It's both Legendary Axe and Legendary Axe 2 I think are just as important as Bonk. Unfortunately, my favorite game is Bloody Wolf. If anyone has a copy of that, let me know. I'd love to have it, and any other chip tunes. But here's what I have. This is all I got. I'm going to hook it up and play it now. I haven't played a TurboGrafx 16 since the 90s on a Turbo Express which I had somehow and was stolen and never saw it again. So I got this for a little less than $100, so I think I did pretty damn good. And look, I got this Orlando Health. I imagine this is, you hang this on your belt and you put a beer in it. But I don't know why it's included, but maybe he just didn't feel like throwing it away. Just stay tuned. I'll do reviews of all these games. And not now, of course, but thanks for watching.